I want to encourage you to choose progress over perfection. You know, when I was doing research for my book, Successful Women Speak Differently, I ran across some research that really surprised me, but when I thought about it, I was like, yeah, it's probably true. And it was simply that perfectionism is mostly a women's issue, that we tend to be harder on ourselves and demand almost this critical degree of perfection before we think we're ready to step up for a promotion, to ask for more, to move on to the next step. And the truth of the matter is, when you never think that what you are doing is enough, you end up getting stuck. You procrastinate. It takes you longer to get things done. And in the process, you don't have nearly as much fun. So what I want to encourage you to do is to let go of perfectionism in favor of excellence. And there really is a big difference between perfectionism and excellence. Perfectionism really is about oftentimes comparing ourselves to everyone else, and kind of measuring against this never-ending cycle of what we think is perfection, what we think we ought to live up to. Excellence is not about comparing yourself to others or anyone else's standard of what you ought to be, but instead comparing yourself to yourself, trying to become the best version of you. And so excellence in and of itself is about growth. It's about hope. It's about seeing your possibilities and really aiming for them and going for them. Whereas perfectionism is really more about criticism, and it's about doubt. There is an energy difference between perfectionism and excellence. And that energy difference is really a positive versus a negative. The energy of hope and of growth and of learning that comes with excellence versus the energy of doubt and never being good enough and criticism that comes with perfectionism. So when you catch yourself, when you get in that space of becoming perfectionistic about whatever it is that you're dealing with, whether it is a project at work or an opportunity that you're not giving yourself permission to go for because you insist you're not ready yet, when in fact you probably are, or in your own parenting skills when you become a perfectionist, I want you to make the mental switch, and you can do it by coaching yourself with a few very basic questions. So I'm going to pose some of those questions for you. So first question is, when you're in the midst of whatever it is you're doing, ask yourself, what have I already done well that I can acknowledge? What have I already done well that I can acknowledge? It's so easy to take for granted the effort you've already put forth, but don't do it. Perfectionism does that. Excellence acknowledges what you've done well and celebrates it, and that's what you want to do when you find yourself spiraling downward into a spirit of perfectionism. When you feel like you're not ready yet, asking yourself, what if I just move forward from where I am right now? What if I just decide that where I am right now is good enough to go for that opportunity? What if I decide that what I'm doing right now is good enough, that I am enough to move forward? It's simple, and it really is just a decision, and it's a decision that you have the power to make. Here's another question. What good thing could happen if I decided that what I've already done is enough for me to move on to the next step? In other words, I don't need to edit anymore. I don't need to ask anyone else's opinion. I don't need to polish it, clean it. I don't need to learn anything more right now at this stage in order to move forward. I don't need more education. I don't need more experience. I just need the courage to go for it. Here are a couple of more. What is my minimum standard of excellence? So this is critical, because oftentimes when we're stuck in perfectionism, and when I say choose excellence over perfection, If you're a real perfectionist, you can say to yourself, well, what does that mean? Of course I want perfect. So what I'm saying here is not that you have a low standard, that you have a high standard of excellence, but you define it. And when you meet it, you say, all right, I've done enough, and you move on to the next step or the next level, or you give yourself credit for having achieved what you've set out to achieve. Being clear and defining your standard of excellence is freeing, because it frees you to stop insisting that there's something more you need to do in order to be acceptable, in order to be perfect. All right, how could I have more fun while I'm doing this? I love this question because I think perfectionism really takes the fun, it takes the joy out of what we do. Excellence doesn't. Excellence revels in learning. It revels in the process. While perfectionism is focused on the destination, excellence is focused on the journey and what we learn in the journey and how we can be fully engaged and in flow while we're on our journey. It really savors each moment and the opportunity to be doing something that we enjoy and that uses our skill set. There's a big difference there. And so when you can stop in the midst of your perfectionism and simply say, how could I have more fun doing this? It can jolt you out of perfectionism and back into excellence. And then here's the last question. How do I want to grow as a result of this task or this situation or this project that's in front of me? So excellence really is about growth. It is about possibility. It is about learning. It's about moving forward. And so when you're asking, how can I grow? You're simply asking, how can I become a better version of myself? How can I, in this moment, in my job, in my business, with my significant other, with my children, in my friendships and relationships, with my spending habits and my workout, whatever it is that perfectionism is threatening to dampen in terms of the experience. What if you said, how can I grow as a result of this? You'll jolt yourself out of the perfectionism and into a place that's focused on excellence. And when you do that, that's when you begin to make real progress. So that's it. Choose progress over perfection and do it by dropping this whole idea of perfectionism and picking up the mantra of excellence. If you want more life strategies, just visit me on my blog. It's ValorieBurton.com/blog. I'll talk to you next time.